You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. Let me ask you, when was the last time you've ever been told to stop following your dreams? Did you give up so easily? I'm sure you've experienced this dilemma at some point in your life. There are times I bet you wonder whether giving up was the easiest option out of the rest. Whether it was better to lose than to win. And the same story goes for these 3 young frogs. Welcome to Untapping Your Potential, where we will share with you motivational stories that will keep you growing and inspire you to take action. Once upon a time, there were 3 young frogs, a fat frog, a skinny frog, and a tiny frog. These frogs were the bestest of pals. Ever since they were tadpoles, these 3 had been living together in the same pond. You could honestly say they were like brothers because of how close they were to each other. One morning, the fat frog, bored and restless, told the skinny frog and the tiny frog that he wanted out. I'm tired of being stuck in the same place. Have you ever wondered what else is out there? The cautious skinny frog said, "No, man. I've heard of scary things out there. We're better off staying here. Come on, brother, let's just go. Tell you what, if we see any trouble, then we can hop back home." All right, said the skinny frog. And so for the first time, the 3 embarked onto a sudden and pathless journey. The frogs hopped and hopped and hopped around until, "Look over there," said the fat frog. Just across from them was a bountiful farm. There were horses, cows, chickens, and pigs running and grazing along the field. But these did not faze the frogs. Instead, what caught the attention of the 3 frogs was an old farmer carrying a bucket. Even from a mile away, the frogs still could smell something delicious coming from the farmer's direction. And once the farmer left the bucket in front of a stable, the 3 wasted no time going over to see what was inside. "What's that smell?" asked the skinny frog. "I don't know," said the tiny frog, shrugging his shoulders. And truly, the frogs did not know what was in the bucket. Because of how tall the bucket was, they couldn't see what was inside. So in an impulse, the fat frog positioned himself before jumping straight into the bucket. Splash! The fat frog was beyond shocked. What he had landed on was not water, but milk. Before the fat frog could say anything, the tiny frog soon jumped over. Splash! But the ever so timid skinny frog had only jumped onto the top rim of the bucket. And once atop the bucket, the skinny frog was also shocked. When he looked down, he saw his 2 buddies swimming in amazement and enjoying the milk. They bathed, they swam, and even lavished drinking from the bucket of milk for several minutes. "This tastes so good," said the fat frog. "Come on, jump in and join us." "No way, man. Anyways, it's getting late. We should probably start heading back." All right, we'll start heading back. But all of a sudden, the 2 frogs found themselves struggling to jump out of the wet stuff. They gasped and thrashed and continued to swim and jump harder and harder. But because of how slippery and deep the milk was, they couldn't quite reach over the top. "Help us," shouted the fat frog. "Brother, swim down and help us." Full of anxiousness and panic, the skinny frog did not know what to do. He thought to himself, I can't let my brothers die. But at the same time, I can't risk my own life jumping down there. The skinny frog was in a terrible dilemma. And because of his distress, he let his irrationality make his decision. "I can't do this. I can't go down there. I might die." And so the fat frog and tiny frog continued to swim and swim and swim to try to get out. Seconds stretched into minutes. Minutes stretched into hours. The 2 were still struggling to get out. Their webbed feet ached and their arms severely stiffed. After many failed attempts, fearfully the skinny frog said, "Brothers, please, I don't think you'll make it. Just give up. But the two still continued on. After a while, the fat frog just couldn't keep up. And as the sun was about to set, the fat frog could no longer take it anymore. He turned towards the tiny frog who was still thrashing around and said, "Brother Tiny Frog, there's no use of swimming any longer. I'm tired. No one will come and save us." The tiny frog couldn't believe what the fat frog was saying. The tiny frog replied, "Hold on, brother. We can get out of here. I know we can. We just gotta keep swimming." But his words were only met with silence. As he turned around, the tiny frog came to realize why he got no response. The fat frog chose to stop swimming. He had given up, drowned in the milk, and died. The skinny frog could only scream, and in terror from the room in the bucket, "You'll never make it, tiny frog. Just give up and die peacefully as brother." And while the tiny frog, although severely devastated, could only weep as he continued to swim, and even though the tiny frog wanted to give up, and even though he'd been discouraged from time and time, his brother's death fueled his fire to survive even harder. Suddenly at around midnight, the tiny frog, exhausted, he could no longer keep swimming and jumping. But this time, under the frog's feet was a soft, yellow substance. He was no longer swimming. He was finally standing. Because of the tiny frog's continuous effort, he had managed to turn that milk into butter. The tiny frog jumped and joined the skinny frog. The tiny frog was beyond happy to have made it out alive. Embracing his skinny brother, he said, "What happened to our brother was sad, but thanks to you, I was able to make it out alive." "What do you mean?" said the skinny frog. "I just heard you saying, 'You'll make it. Don't give up.' If it weren't for your encouragement, brother, I think I would have died. Thank you so much." The skinny frog was taken aback from his brother's words. But it was then the frog remembered, my brother who had survived had always been a deaf frog. Ships don't sink because of the water around them. Ships sink because of the water that gets in them. It's easy to get stuck in an obstacle of life's doing. Now let me ask you again. Have you ever given up? What happened after that? Were you happy with the outcome? Look, thinking about giving up will happen. I mean, it's inevitable. It's part of our nature. But what if I were to tell you there is another way? Look, sometimes you may find yourself in the path of no return, where it feels impossible to overcome the odds. You may find yourself stuck and not knowing how to get out. You're stuck in that bucket of milk. And in those desperate moments, like the fat frog, you might find yourself that giving up might be the best way out. But ask yourself this: is it worth it? When you think about it, when you give up, even if it's given up for a tiny reason, you will tend to lose more than what you've given up. Think about that for a second. See, most of the time, if not all the time, you lose opportunities, experience, dreams, just because you gave up early. That is why, even if you stumble or fall, you have to keep going. Even if people hold on to your ankles and drag you down, you've got to keep standing. Be deaf to the negativity spouted by the people that envy you. Be deaf to the negativity that you force onto yourself. There's no such thing as never reaping what we sow. Eventually, you'll be able to turn the milk that you're stuck on into butter. And someday, you'll make it out of the pail. You'll be free from the bonds of doubt and negativity and have that confidence to move forward towards your goals and dreams. If you can't hop out, keep swimming around. Don't give up. One day you'll look back and be glad you did it. Thanks for watching this video. How would you like to hear more motivational stories on a consistent basis? Do me a favor, comment below, and please make sure to like and hit that subscribe button to get the latest update. Soon, you will be on your way to feeling inspired.